good evening and welcome to BCN News. Our top story tonight. Preparing and carrying out preventative measures are part of the yellow alert level Niue is currently on. This is part of the Niue Emergency Response Plan to the coronavirus pandemic. Social Services Director General Gayleen Tasmania and Acting Director for Health Griselda Mokoya were guests on the radio talkback show with BCN journalist Esther Pavihi today.
So we all know if we think about the cyclone alert, similar kind of process. You know that yellow is in preparation, people put up shutters. This time it's about looking at supplies. What do you do if we do go to red? And I think a good example would be to look at what New Zealand is doing. So everyone I know tunes into Radio New Zealand as well as they watch the news in the evenings. So you'll see what red means, and that we follow that very closely. Red for us means a suspected or confirmed case is on island, and everyone should expect to go into lockdown when we go to red. So if you know what's coming, you should be able to kind of prepare yourselves now for what could possibly come. So in yellow, it's about preparing yourselves. Okay, what do you have at home if we do call you to lockdown? What do you need for home? That kind of thing. And I think that's what people should be thinking about now. It doesn't mean that you panic buy, and you've seen people in New Zealand already doing that, even though the government has already said services like the supermarkets and things like that where they can go for essentials and the hospital, those remain open. And here, similarly, essential services remain open. Private sector, I know, is different, but for government, essential services includes our border control agencies, so all our police, health, of course, must remain open, and other essential services, just like we would during a cyclone. But the most important thing, and the message that I guess doesn't matter which alert level we're on, it's all the preventative measures that we have encouraged people to take ever since. And those messages don't change. It doesn't matter what alert level we're on, the message is still the same, because that's the only way to curb and contain this disease if it ever got here, and to stop the spread. It means everyone practice social distancing, wash your hands, keep everything clean, and basically just looking after each other.
Cabinet has made the decision for weekly flights to continue. There is a scheduled flight to Niue this Friday, which only includes returning Niuean residents.
So there will be a flight on Friday. There's no, it'll continue on a weekly basis, but it will be with the following conditions. Firstly, only returning residents will be allowed to come to Niue. So if you have families and friends who are planning to come over on Friday, you need to let us know, or let them know, that only residents will only be taking returning residents to come back home. And prior to check-in or prior to boarding, they will need to sign a consent form or declaration so that they know that when they arrive here, they are going straight into a 14-day isolation quarantine. And that helps. I mean, these are that they need to make a decision whether or not they want to come, and if they are going to come, that these are the conditions upon entering Niue. And I think for families and friends who are here, you have to be prepared not to come up to the airport, because the families coming off on Friday will not be allowed to come out like we did last Friday. They will be transported directly to pre-arranged accommodation and stay there for 14 days. So there'll be much stricter rules with this next group that are coming on Friday. And that would also mean we will have to station some police officers, or we will be delegating authority as health inspectors under the Public Health Act to report or to help detain. So, of course, we don't have that many police officers. We can't be stretching our team too thinly. So it's about getting others out in the community to be able to enforce the Public Health Act.
And Niue is now on alert level, which is the code yellow in the Niue Emergency Response Plan to the coronavirus pandemic. The Premier Sir Toke Talangi, in his address statement yesterday, said this is in response to New Zealand's situation, and as of midday yesterday, Niue has upgraded to code yellow. The Premier, Sir Toke Talangi, said this upgrade to code yellow is not due to Niue's current situation on the ground, code yellow, because there is widespread community transmission in New Zealand. He highlighted that the government is taking further actions to keep us all safe. School holidays started yesterday to keep children safe at home. Government, he says, will be putting strict penalties for those who do not comply with self-isolation protocols. The Premier states they will put the necessary laws in place for these restrictions.
We've got to protect ourselves, protect our people, and make sure that we follow the rules as provided and guidance. I know some of you are a bit skeptical and will defy some of the things we're trying to do. But at the same time, I expect that the majority of us will work together to make sure we don't get coronavirus 19 to Niue.
Government is looking at border restrictions and has been talking to Air New Zealand about flights. Sir Toke has assured the nation that they will make sure that important supplies still come to Niue. Government is looking at testing equipment for COVID-19 to bring to Niue and are stocking medical supplies. He said the cabinet will be making an announcement soon. Government workers have been given 2 weeks leave for the next 2 weeks. Sir Toke said they are looking at the government services and how they will still provide these services. He also said BCN will be providing the TV Niue and BBC channels free for the next month. The Premier also said New Zealand has already offered assistance and Niue will continue to work with them. All flight passengers arriving in Niue will need to self-isolate as a precaution. This has already started from last Friday. According to the Secretary to Government, Peleni Talangi, in an issued statement, all flights to Niue will continue as normal. They are reviewing the border situation regularly and considering all options. If there are any changes, then this will involve a lot of discussions and consultations, and they will give plenty of notice. What happens to passengers arriving on flights to Niue? Flights to Niue have strict border controls and checks in place. These start at the Auckland airport. All passengers arriving on the flights will be asked to self-isolate as a precaution. They will be met by health officials on arrival after they have cleared the border checks on what self-isolation means. The self-isolation accommodation will be funded by government.
They were given a choice of deciding whether or not they would want to go to accommodation that has been provided by the government, or they would prefer to go home. So 28 of them chose to be housed in an accommodation, and 32 were comfortable to go and spend their 14 days with their families. But thus far, we're not doing too well in so far as trying to make sure that these people are following instructions and advice from the department to stay at home for the whole 14 days. So as of yesterday, we have already sent them again instructions to stay home. So if they're finding trouble honoring the 14 days of isolation that they are required to do, then we'd be happy to take them out of their homes and take them to the accommodations that has been provided. So this would allow us better control of monitoring of where they are and making sure that they're not infecting others if they become positive. So today is day 3 or day 4? Day 4 of the isolation, and we'd just like to acknowledge all of those family members and friends who have stayed put in their homes. But there are just a minor few who are not actually following instructions.
Authorities will still allow people with important skills to Niue to help with key infrastructure projects such as fixing the wharf. They will also be working carefully. The Secretary to Government also confirmed that the Niuean government worked with counterparts in Australia and New Zealand to allow the Niuean students to return home. Opposition leader Olaf Jacobson has raised concern over the postponement of the Fono Ekapule, which was scheduled to be held tomorrow, Wednesday, March 25th. In his address yesterday on government's COVID-19 measures, the Premier indicated the Fono meeting has been postponed. Opposition leader Olaf Jacobson told BCN News that she is disappointed by the decision not to hold the Fono meeting because it was an opportune time for members of Parliament to discuss important matters relating to the global health pandemic.
I felt that no regard was given to what should be informed to the members so that the members can go and let their villagers know, and those on the common roll can let the people of the island know. We're all in the dark, and we hear of the many things that he proposes to do, and the House or the Assembly is the only place where we can raise those questions and get some answers. I feel that we're somewhat delayed in our response as a group of people standing together to show our solidarity with our government. We're very distant. We haven't come together on this, but I'd like to think that we can all make a contribution.
BCN News is currently seeking a response on this matter. The opposition MP also raised concerns in regards to the national response plan to the coronavirus pandemic.
He has declared that we are now in yellow alert, which means to me that we're on the next level up. But we haven't completed the first level, the blue level, where it says you block it out. Don't get this to come into Niue. You leave it out. How does this virus get here? It comes here by plane, because people get on that plane in New Zealand and come to Niue. Well, we haven't done that. And I hear there's another flight on Friday. That needs to now stop. I'm asking the leader of this country to please consider putting a good word in with Air New Zealand. Please do not come to Niue, because what are the chances that that particular flight will be the flight that will bring in the virus?
The local business community has called on the government to close Niue's borders. In the biggest gathering of the local private sector at a meeting held last Thursday, the business community raised their concerns. The meeting was organized by the Chamber of Commerce to capture the views of the business community in preparation for the Niue private sector economic stimulus strategy, which has been delivered to government. More than 100 business owners attended this meeting. Also in attendance at the meeting was the Secretary to Government, Peleni Talangi, and the Director General of Health and Ministry of Social Services, Gayleen Tasmania. While the meeting was aimed at discussing economics, many in attendance were calling on government to close the borders. Meanwhile, Premier Sir Toke Talangi has stated that the government is working on a plan to help the private sector and is working closely with the Chamber of Commerce. And just before I go, in line with the Premier's statement, Television Niue will allow free access to the base package, which includes the TV Niue and tourism channels, and the news package, which is the BBC channel, free to air for all its TV customers for a month, effective as of today. The BCN Board of Directors see this as a crucial move to ensure citizens stay informed during this pandemic crisis. And that's BCN News for tonight. Thank you for watching. Do join us tomorrow, same time. Until then, good evening.